I've always believed that houses hold moods the way old wood holds heat. That night my house felt unsettled long before I knew why. My daughter-in-law, Marissa, pulled into the driveway just after 9. Too late for a casual visit, too early for an emergency. Her headlights swept across the porch like she wasn't sure she meant to stop at all. When she came to the door, she was already halfway back toward the car. "Mom, can you keep Lily tonight?" she said, like the words had been rehearsed. My granddaughter stood behind her, clutching nothing. That was the first thing I noticed. Lily never traveled without at least one small treasure, usually the ragged pink rabbit she'd had since she was 2. Tonight her hands were empty. "No pajamas?" I asked. "She'll be fine. I'll get her in the morning." Marissa avoided my eyes. Not dramatically, just enough that something in my chest tightened. Lily walked into the house slowly, looking over her shoulder as if the dark driveway might follow her inside. "Love you," Marissa said quickly to the child. Then she was gone. The taillights disappeared down the street before I had the chance to ask anything else. Inside, Lily stood near the couch like a visitor. "Hungry?" I asked. She shook her head. "Tired?" Another shake. Children usually arrive at my house like small storms: noise, toys, questions, demands for cookies. Lily had always been that way. Tonight she watched the front door, not scared exactly, alert. I locked the door out of habit. When the deadbolt clicked, she looked up. "You lock it every night?" she asked. "Yes, sweetheart." "All the doors, all of them?" She nodded like that mattered. Bedtime came quietly. I found one of the spare sets of pajamas I keep for sleepovers. Too big, but she didn't complain. She climbed into the guest bed and pulled the blanket up to her chin. The hall light cast a thin yellow line across the floor. I was about to turn it off when she said, very softly, "Grandma?" "Yes, people can't come in if the doors are locked, right?" "Not unless we open them." She was silent for a long time. Then she whispered, "Grandma, Mom said not to tell you what I saw at home, but..." The words trailed off like she'd stepped onto thin ice. I sat on the edge of the bed. "You don't have to tell me anything you don't want to." Another pause. Children pause differently than adults. Adults hesitate because they're calculating. Children hesitate because they're deciding who they're allowed to trust. Lily leaned closer to me. Her voice barely moved the air. I saw Daddy push Mom into the kitchen wall. The room didn't change, but something inside me did. Not shock exactly, something heavier. "Mom said it was an accident," Willie continued. "But he was yelling before it happened. My first instinct was the one most families have. Maybe she misunderstood. Maybe it looked worse than it was. Maybe then he threw the chair," she said. I kept my voice steady. "What kind of chair?" "The brown one, from the table. We have the same dining set." I knew exactly which chair she meant. "Did it hit Mom?" "No." Another pause. "But it hit the door." Her fingers tightened around the blanket. He didn't know I was watching. After that she didn't want to talk anymore. She rolled onto her side and fell asleep with the quick surrender. Only children have. I stayed there a long time. Listening, watching. My son's voice lived in my memory. His laugh as a teenager. His quiet patience fixing broken things around the house. I had never heard anger in him like the kind Lily described, but children don't invent details like flying chairs. Around midnight, I walked to the kitchen. The clock ticked too loudly. I poured a glass of water and didn't drink it. There are moments when family loyalty becomes a kind of fog. You want to believe what keeps the world intact. But there was another truth sitting in the guest room down the hall. A 5-year-old who had whispered something she thought she wasn't allowed to say. Protection isn't a feeling, it's a decision. At 12:17 a.m., I picked up the phone. My hands were steady. "Non-emergency police," the operator answered. "Yes," I said. "I'm calling because my granddaughter told me something tonight that I think someone should know about. I did not accuse, I did not dramatize." I repeated Lily's words exactly. The operator asked careful questions, calm ones. "Is the child safe with you now?" "Yes." "Do you believe anyone at the home may currently be in danger?" I hesitated. I don't know, I said honestly. She thanked me for calling. Then she said officers would come by to talk. The house felt different after that. Quieter. Like something important had already happened, even though nothing visible had changed. When the police car pulled up, its headlights swept across the porch just like Marissa's had earlier. Two officers knocked. Their presence turned the night from a family problem into something official, real. We sat at the kitchen table. I told them what Lily said. No more, no less. One officer wrote everything down. The other asked a few gentle questions. Has there been violence before? Not that I know of. Would you be willing for child services to follow up? Yes. They explained what would happen next. Someone might visit my son's home. Someone would talk to Marissa. Someone might talk to Lily later. Nothing dramatic, just procedure. But procedure has weight. Secrets don't survive it. When they left, the house returned to silence. I stood in the hallway outside the guest room. Lily was still asleep, one arm stretched across the pillow. Her breathing was slow and even. For the moment, she was safe. I knew what tomorrow might bring: anger, accusations, maybe the end of certain relationships. My son might never forgive me. But forgiveness wasn't the question the night had asked. The night had asked something simpler. Who would believe the child who whispered the truth? I turned off the hallway light and closed the door softly. In the quiet, I understood something I hadn't before. Sometimes protecting a family means standing against it, and sometimes the bravest thing a child can do is whisper.